everybody. First of all, apologies for the delay. We're streaming live from Underground Network in Los Angeles. Underground Network is a platform that will soon be launching, and it will give everyone the opportunity to do what I'm doing and many more things, like get involved in the political process, in the democratic process, participate in open debates, create dialogue among all people, whether it's within countries, within communities, locally, globally, on a federal level in the United States, on a local level, on the country level as far as Europe is concerned. Underground Network. Check out underground.net and subscribe to get notified of the launch, to get updates, and to also get informed as to when I go online, which is usually every day, Monday through Friday. Weekdays, 11 p.m. Greek time, Eastern European time, and 1 p.m. Los Angeles time, Pacific time in the United States. So again, apologies for the delay. We were testing some new features here, and we got a little distracted, and but here we are. Now, most of you watching from Greece, you are probably not watching today because, from what I learned, Venizelos, Evangelos Venizelos, the leader of PASOK, resigned, and he is being interviewed right now on Greek television. So I would normally be on my Twitter checking out what people say about such events. Televised events are best reported on Twitter, as I'm sure most of you who use Twitter very well know. It's actually better to sometimes read comments of what people say about a televised event rather than watch the event itself. So I could do that in a moment, but before I do that, I want to say hello to my friend Dimitris and Stratos, who are saying hello, and you guys are probably both watching me and watching Venizelos on Greek television. Let me know what's going on. I am not sure I can both read my Twitter and read what you're writing and talk about what I was intending to talk about today. So in long story short, this was a very eventful weekend for Greece and for Europe and for the world. The amount of articles written all around mainstream media and blogs and Twitter and everywhere, the amount of reports, the amount of interviews, they were so overwhelming that it was hard to keep up. Yet, but we got a taste of a first no from the Greek finance minister, finance minister Varoufakis. After his meeting with Dijsselbloem on Friday, which I think we somehow mentioned at the live event, at the live show on Friday, it was a very cold press conference, and very right after that, the entire internet was flooded with pictures of the coldness and the awkward moment right after the press conference. People called this the handshake of the century, as Dijsselbloem really sort of wanted to storm out of the press conference, didn't give any time to the reporters and journalists to ask questions, and was very, very annoyed, very angry, and he barely, gave his hand to Greek finance minister Varoufakis. So it was what I've read, the best expression was the handshake of the century, and very interesting body language from both politicians. So it looks like, the next day on Saturday, as things, so Varoufakis basically stated that there's going to be no more Troika. It is said that Dijsselbloem's last words to Varoufakis were, "You just killed the Troika." And then Varoufakis said, "Oh, wow." So that was the last words of those two politicians. Bottom line, though, is that everybody said that that's it, the Troika is done, this radical party just ended everything, the reforms, austerity, it's going against Europe, it's not going to be paying its debt any longer and all these things, and it's going to be kicked out of the Europe. Kicked out of the euro and kicked out of Europe, or both. Again, the word blackmail was used again and again by many, especially German professors. Namely, I had the name here, I'm trying to find it and I can't find it, but there's this German professor who came out and said that basically Greece can't be threatening the rest of Europe and the citizens of Europe, and we should put an end to this threat and he wasn't even talking about threat, he was talking about blackmail. And it's once again, how words are being distorted and used to satisfy a person's self-projection, because who is blaming who here? We've talked about this before, but the word blackmail came out of Mr. Schäuble's mouth, that specific professor whose name I don't have with me right now. It came out previously came out from other European officials. So none of this is going on, of course. You have the Greek people, again, being defamed all over by some mainstream media, and you have this constant sort of clashing that is not even real, it's virtual, and it's not helping the debate, and it's not helping what is really going on. Okay, I just want to salute my two new friends. No, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 friends, but a few of them. Nick is saying hello. Nicolas is saying hello. Chris is saying hello. So, what is being read in the big headlines right now is on Twitter is that Greece Finance Minister Varoufakis has not discussed debt plan with ECB or EU officials. This is being reported by Tweep, and the source is RTRS. So apparently Finance Minister Varoufakis has not discussed debt plan with ECB or EU officials. Now, earlier on the Financial Times, which you have to be joining. I wasn't able to open that article because I am not paying to get the Financial Times, but it said that Varoufakis' plan was presented in that article in the Financial Times. So I don't know what that plan was. But to get to the bottom line, there's a lot of confusion, and nobody knows what is going to happen. It looks like two things are going to happen, or two things are already happening. Tsipras, the next day after Dijsselbloem and Varoufakis' meeting, came out and sort of toned down the heat of the heated debate and all the anger that was going on around the world regarding Greece, and said Greece is going to pay its debt to the IMF and the ECB. And he went even further than that and said, we want real reforms. We don't want to just get more loans and not service the needs of the Greek people, but we will pay our debt to the IMF and the ECB, and also we will keep our finances in order. And he actually mentioned we will work on our budget surplus. I don't know if he means that 3% that every European country has to stick to, a 3% deficit and no bigger than that. So he insisted that it's going to be within the European rules, the 3% deficit and the primary budget surplus, and what else is there? I think another rule in the Eurozone is the 60%. A country can't go over, its debt can't go over 60% of its GDP. And I wonder how many countries are sticking to those rules, because I'm reading and learning that not even Germany has a 3% deficit. It's just sort of cooking its numbers, and it's sort of working, it's sort of, doing things to alter the real numbers and come clear, yet those are very strict rules that resemble a religion, and nobody can meet those targets. Another thing that should be noted is that if a country like Greece, which has lost 25% of its GDP in the last 3 years, has to still keep its deficit only at 3%, I don't exactly understand how growth will come back. Because how do you bring back growth when, as a country, you don't inject money into the economy? And let's leave aside for a moment the fact that Greece doesn't have money and doesn't have its own currency, so it's not even able to inject money into the economy. But let's pretend that at some point the ECB will pump some euros into Greece, and that money that it would pump, it would go to the economy. How are you going to keep that 3% deficit when you're supposed to actually help, when you're intending to help your people get jobs and see some growth and raise their pensions? And so all these contradictions that Syriza, Alexis Tsipras, Varoufakis are sort of falling into, all these elements could be seen as contradictions, or they could be seen, and that's another theory, that's another interpretation, as many analysts call a game theory plan. Because apparently Varoufakis has written a book about a game theory, and so maybe that would be his tactic into getting basically, instead of Greece doing a unilateral move and say, I'm not going to pay this debt, that's it, no more, and then have everything go to shit. He's deciding to sort of play into the European game and say, no, we want to discuss, we want to do this, we want to do that, and then he is basically throwing the ball on the other side of the net, and is waiting for the Europeans to sort of either come with a solution or kick Greece out of the Europe, and then that way Greece will say, well, I tried everything, I tried my best, you guys didn't want to help, I just laid the facts bare in front of you, I just told you that there's no way we can keep on, we can keep going on that path where you're trying to solve a problem of insolvency of the country as if it were a problem of liquidity, and I've tried my best, and you're not doing anything, and so okay, now if we're kicked out of the euro, then we'll have to have our own currency, and we'll create our own policy. So that's another interpretation, that this is sort of a game theory plan, and it's a strategy, it's a tactic that Syriza and Varoufakis are using in order to get where they want to get. Hello to my friend Ioana. Stratos is saying the Obama support wasn't mentioned in German media. So yes, and now we have this new element since yesterday. President Obama gave a CNN interview where he is basically openly supporting Greece. And he doesn't do that very often. For him to come out and say that he gives a support to a certain let's say path. He says austerity, when you've squeezed the country so much, you can't move forward with austerity. You have to stop strangling the people, and you have to basically try something else. Now he is saying this, and it was clearly targeted toward the German government. If I'm not, if you agree with me, you probably can tell me so. But it was clearly, we have two powers here, two conflicting interests here, and one is America, and the other one is Germany. So I guess there is sort of in the interpretation of that could be basically there could be like a change of guard going on. Maybe we were under sort of German how do you say that? We were under German supervision, and now maybe there is a transition into some other sort of supervision that looks kinder to us right now. We could see that. We could also interpret that this way, just because of the fact that Lazard, the agency who is taking the company, who is going to look into how to solve this whole debt negotiation, which is, it's the same company that helped Greece with the PSI in 2012, and I think also in 2010. So I don't know how successful that was, but anyway, we're calling this company back into our we're calling them back for help and asking them to help us negotiate this debt deal with, I guess, the Europeans. From what I'm reading, Lazard is also a company working with the Council of Foreign Relations, which is basically a council that helps the American government with foreign policy. So I don't know if this is related or unrelated to Greece. The fact that we're working with an institution that is helping also helping the Council of Foreign Relations with foreign policy, and it's helping Greece. Is this all related? Are we coming closer to an American, let's say, solution, or are we more under American now sort of supervision or collaboration or negotiation, however you might want to call this? These are all questions, and I would like to hear what you're saying, what you would have to say. But one of the most interesting articles I read was interestingly on Forbes, Forbes.com, and it's by an analyst, Frances Coppola, a lady that is writing these very, very interesting articles, and she is calling Syriza and the finance minister's moves. She is seeing it as a tactic. So let me just briefly quote some of the things found in this article. The article is called "Media Misinformation on Greece Misleads European Leaders." So, in short, the whole article talks about what happened after the meeting between Dijsselbloem and Varoufakis, and then how Tsipras's email the next day. Tsipras wrote an email to Bloomberg explaining that, we are committed to paying our debt, blah, 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 blah. And then after that was done, the Dijsselbloem was happy that, oh, good, so we're happy that the Greek government wants to stick to reforms and pay its debt, so we're waiting for its next offer, for its plan and for its offer. And Francis Coppola says, this is not what the email was saying. This is not what the Greek government was saying. Because Syriza's position, according to Mrs. Coppola, is that Greece has no intention of leaving the euro or the EU, and that is what Syriza in fact has stated, but others might force it out. So this is the analyst's interpretation, which I kind of agree in a way. This might be one of the tactics. Then second point is Greece has no intention of defaulting on its debt to primary official creditors, right? Because Tsipras's email stated that we want to pay the IMF and the ECB and our creditors. We don't want to default on our debt. So Mrs. Coppola says Greece has no intention of defaulting on its debt to primary official creditors, but others might force it to. So again, it's not going to come from Greece, it's going to come from the other parties. And then lastly, she mentions, Greece is committed to pursuing policies that promote the economic stability and recovery of Europe, but others might not be. Again, she stresses the fact that Syriza's plan and tactic is that, you know, and that's true, they keep mentioning the word Europe. They keep mentioning the fact that, you know, we're not doing it for Greece, we do it for Europe because there's other countries that are as indebted as we are, if not more, and are going through hardship, and there is no solution and no end to this whole vicious circle. So let's think as Europeans, and they keep repeating that, and I personally mentioned in the past that this is annoying to me, but if one looks at it from that perspective of the tactic, it could be, I don't know, it could be a tactic. So Greece is committed to pursuing policies that promote the economic stability and recovery of Europe, but others might not be, meaning the European partners might not be willing to promote economic stability and recovery of Europe. So this is one of the ways to look at the whole thing. Varoufakis is saying, former IMF chief Susan Sandler admitted that, quote, there were political pressures to induct Greece in the IMF, although it could have been avoided. Yes, these are things that we know back in 2010. We know that there were representatives of countries at the board of the IMF who wanted to avoid having Greece, putting Greece under its program. Namely, it was Argentina, it was Brazil, if I'm not mistaken, even Switzerland, even the representative of Switzerland who said, you know, let's not do it, let's not have Greece go under this program. Yet Greece insisted that it wanted to enter the program. The representative of Greece stated that, you know, we don't accept any sort of. He stated that we don't even accept as a country a debt restructuring, because I think the IMF most of its members wanted a debt restructuring at that time, which would have been a completely different deal if we'd started the program with a debt restructuring, which did not happen because we as a country did not want it. We wanted to pay the entire bill. Prokopi says, this was stated by her 2 days ago. Yes, I know, but I have been reading about the fact that that's probably a more official statement by the Susan Sandler, the former IMF chief, the fact that there were political pressures. Yes, okay. She stated it 2 days that there were political pressures, but I'm trying to say what the political pressures were, and the political pressures came from countries like France, Germany, who were very exposed to Greek debt at the time, and had the Greek representative say that we're getting into the program and we are not accepting any sort of haircut at the time, and that's back in 2010. So I was kind of saying something slightly different. But I knew that a lot of members of the IMF at the time were against Greece's entering the program. Apart from that, but thank you, Prokopi. You're always sending. Prokopi has sent me so many links, especially in relation to all the corrupt Greek politicians and their involvement in a series of scandal. There is so much to say about this, and I should dedicate an entire program, which I will do probably in Greek really soon. So where are we at right now? And this will be the conclusion of today for me, is that again, there are a lot of people who are extremely disappointed already at what is going on, because they're looking at Syriza, Alexis Tsipras's tactic and Varoufakis' tactics as a sort of rapprochement with the United States, questioning the fact that they're employing Lazard into the new debt deal and negotiation, raising questions like, why would they hire this company? Doesn't the Greek public civil servants, don't we have Greek civil servants at the ministry who could help with such a deal? We have experts that actually could be doing a negotiation plan. Why should we hire an American company? I think it's an American company to do the job for us. Also, some people are questioning the fact that we're hiring a private company, while the Greek procedure by law states that you have to go through a competition and basically give the job to whoever has won the competition. And this has not happened. We're just hiring this private company, Lazard, to actually help us with negotiations. So these are people who are skeptical about those moves and what it could mean. And all those moves come together with Obama's statement and support to Greece on CNN. So these are the people who are sort of suspicious. And then there's the other side, which I mentioned earlier, along the line of that article I read, excerpts from saying that this is a tactic. They're going slowly. They're going along. They're trying to say, we're trying, we're doing our best, and if the other side, namely the Europeans, EU officials, Germans, are not willing to sort of really honestly look at the situation and come up with a solution, then it's not going to be Greece's fault if the euro crumbles. It's going to be those people's fault. It's going to be, the German officials and the EU leaders' fault of not recognizing what the real issues are and willing to just religiously stick to reforms that are not working, that have not been working, and that have been destroying the lives of millions of Europeans. So these are the two main things, I think, that are playing right now. Okay, Maria says, hello from me too. I wanted to ask someone here, do you know if Samaras is really in the Lagarde list? This is something that I've been reading too, and I would be very curious to know. I wouldn't be surprised if he is. I mean, there are rumors that he is in the list with something like $1 million, which doesn't sound like a lot for a politician, for a Greek politician. Yes, Prokopi says that some of Samaras's close associates are, and also some of Papakonstantinos' relatives, and that we knew already. Papakonstantinos, the former finance minister, when Greece entered the memorandum, we know that some of his relatives were on the list, and that's why I think he has been convicted for that. Now, let me just add something to what I was saying earlier in relation to Greece's debt, and this is something that I would like to talk about tomorrow. I will start with that and then proceed with another issue. But the fact that most people in Europe, most leaders, not all of them, but present the fact that Greece owes most of the debt to countries, so basically to central banks, so to the European taxpayers, which is the narrative we hear again and again and again, that Greece can't just scrap the debt because it owes it to other people, to European taxpayers. So who is Greece to do such a thing? If Greece does it, everybody else will want to do it, and that is so unfair to the European taxpayers. And this goes on and on and on and on and on. So let me just say it loud and clear. Greece has borrowed 55 billion euros from countries directly, and meaning what does that mean? It means that the taxpayers have actually, through that scheme, bailed out their own banks. And why is that? To set an example, out of the 15 billion that Greece has borrowed, out of the 55 billion, 15 come from Germany. 15 billion out of those 55 come from Germany. On those 15 billion that we're borrowing from Germany, so we're paying interest, it's not a relief. We're not being given that money. We're not being offered that money. We're paying an interest on that money. So on that 15 billion, Germany has made 75 billion in the last 3 years. So we were given 15 billion by Germany. Germany made 75 billion. So who's making money on who? Who's blackmailing who? Who is actually who has found a perfect way to make money on Greece debt and then blame it on the Greek people and on the taxpayers, and who keeps that false narrative on and on and on? Who has been doing this for years? Not Greece, but Germany, first and foremost. So they're making money on that debt. Of course, not the European, not the people, not the taxpayers, not the Greek taxpayers, not the French taxpayers, but the governments and the banks. The banks through the governments. So that is one of the biggest lie that's been out there. They used Greece to bail out French, German, and Dutch banks, and not only that, they're making money on that. Shitloads of money. So enough is enough, and the blackmailing is actually the other way around. And that is for my little intervention today, my little commentary. Let me go read a little some of your messages. Again, in regards to if the former Prime Minister Samaras is on the Lagarde list, we have Lazard and Lagarde. The Lagarde list of the Greek taxpayers, the Greek politicians who have money, supposedly have money in a Swiss bank. That list had been given to the Greek government since I think 2010 and was hidden by politicians one after the other, because a lot of people were on that list. A lot of people had all this money in Switzerland. Dimitris is saying, it seems that the new government here is just changing names to the words that make Greek sad. I mean that they change memorandum to bridge, menu of changes. Okay. So in short, Dimitris is saying that the new government is basically sort of changing the names of that people are used to, changing words, but there is no real change in terms of there's no real change practically. So I guess Dimitri means that there's not going to be much difference in the policies that are going to be implemented, or they're probably going to go on doing the same policies. Is that what you mean? Syriza is going to follow the same sort of policies that the previous governments followed. I think that's what Dimitri is trying to say, and they're just changing the words. Might be. Okay, so apparently there is a name on that Lagarde list, Andonis Samaras, but it's not the Prime Minister. Wow, that's incredible. I mean, oh wow. So let me go on. All right, you guys are talking to each other, which is great, and I'm trying to... okay, so Dimitris is saying, no, guys, listen, Samaras is on the first USB stick, 16 gigabytes. The second USB stick that people see has some changes. Okay. I'm sure there is so much confusion whether it's him or it's not him, but I find it a little odd that there would be another Andonis Samaras on the same USB stick and that it wouldn't be him. It's kind of odd. And then Stratos is saying the 75 billion are money that they made because people buy the safe German bonds rather than the risky money we paid back, and money they won by the difference in the interest in bond. Yes, I did not get into this detail. Yes, the 75 billion made by Germans, by banks and government is because people buy German bonds. It's an indirect way of basically earning a lot from us, from us not being able to not being in the markets. Everybody buys German bonds, and so they're making money on that. And then German bonds rather than the risky money we paid back, and money they won by the difference in the interest rates and the interests in bonds. Yes, because they borrow at zero and they lend to us at a higher rate. Changes without meaning. Yes. So basically, Dimitris is also saying that there are changes in the words that that the new government is making. They're sort of changing the words, but maybe the policies are going to stay the same. Who knows? Who knows if this is a tactic or if this is really there's two things. There's you read the supporters of the really determined supporters, fervent supporters of the current government, and they are well known to most of us who are on Twitter. and yes, you see some really, you see some hope, and you see some positive moves that they're doing, and everyone is so happy. Yet if you listen to the speeches and the words, and I've mentioned these before, I don't like to always say Europe first and foremost, Europe, and being a European, and I'm like, yes, what about the Greek people? And when I say what about the Greek people, it also means what about the Italian people, what about the Spanish people, what about the French people? But it means that everyone has to sort of look into their own little area first, and try to see what we're doing, and that way, later on we can all come together. Because when you say we're thinking about the Europeans first and foremost, there's another confusion: is who are we thinking about? Are we thinking about the EU officials and the EU construct, or are we thinking about European people? It's very confusing. So I think one should be very specific. And I have to say one thing: when I saw Varoufakis's body language on Friday, and then the interview that he did on BBC, where he was very, very hard with the interviewer, and he was so right. I mean, he was so angry, and he was right to be angry. His body language told me that he was supporting his country. Really, he was supporting his country. Yet his language was more, moderate, more toward, Europe and Europeans. But I could feel his frustration as a Greek. Now you're going to tell me, is there any difference? Well, there is, in terms of sovereignty. And that's where I sort of distance myself from all this. I think that there's a big sort of frustration for a politician like Varoufakis or Tsipras, who really put forward that European, level, that this is the most important, and they themselves are frustrated when they have to face reality, and when they have to speak as in the name of their own country as a sovereign. So I think that that was really very obvious to me in terms of Mr. Varoufakis's body language. He was an angry Greek at that time, and not an angry European. And I see this as a positive. But if I would only have to stick to what they're saying, it would be very frustrating for me, because especially when they say that we will stick to our budget surpluses and all those things, what are you talking about? The country needs money injection. The country needs deficits. Countries have always ran at deficits in order to get growth. Everybody knows that. Even I know that. And everything else is a religion. Everything else is a neoliberal religion. So when you read those things, you get angry. But anyway, I want to believe that at that point, all this is a tactic, and we shall see. We shall see. I laid all the general facts to you, and it's up to you to decide. Thanasis has joined, and I was about to leave, but I'm going to keep it just a few more minutes. Akis has joined. Akis is asking me, have you seen the new page for Varoufakis on Facebook? No, I have not. Okay, so Thanasis has just come with breaking news. He's saying that Varoufakis just said to the Financial Times, Greece wants smart debt engineering instead of debt haircut. Akis is saying, I don't think that Varoufakis sees himself as a politician. I totally agree with you. Varoufakis is not a politician, does not see himself as a politician, and that's what I like about him. First and foremost, we need human beings caring about human beings right now. We don't, I don't know how good this is in terms of negotiations. but he's a smart person. But I don't think at this point, I'm happy that we don't have a politician in office in that specific position. I'm happy to see a human being react, become angry, and even respond the way he responded, whether it was Dijsselbloem or his response to the BBC reporter. It kind of made me happy. It sort of reflected my anger and my frustration. I'm sure it did. It was the case for a lot of Greeks. Dimitris is saying, another breaking, Obama is sending advisors to Greece to help with financial crisis. Well, I don't know if Dimitris is are you referring to different advisors other than Lazard? Probably. Yes, I mean, we have incredibly bright people in civil servants in the Greek administration who could do the job, and who could do the job probably better because they care about the country, and they are qualified to do that. So I don't understand this influx of foreign companies and foreign advisors in the ministries. I think we should reconsider how we approach this. And again, it's within the Greek law. It's as bad an administration as we may have, we have this law that says that you create competition in order to hire a company for something, to do a project. So that has to be clarified. That is not very. That's not a very just way of approaching, and especially Syriza, who wants to do things right. I think that's something that we should take notice of. Hold on, you guys are writing too fast. I can't. Another breaking, Obama is sending his advisors to Greece, and he is saying the same thing since 2004. You're talking. Akis is saying that Varoufakis is saying the same thing since 2004, I guess, probably. The leader of advisor, Dalip Singh. Somebody, Strato, saying, let's go Varoufakis crazy. By the way, I've seen a lot of comments in relations to what he's wearing and the fact that he went on his European tour without wearing a tie. I mean, there's a lot of craziness going on with the wardrobe and stuff, fashion. Prokopis is saying, people here seem to have a smile on their faces and start having hope no matter what their political beliefs are, because Greek politicians are standing up for their country for the first time in ages. Okay, yes, and this is what I was saying, and this is what kind of makes me hopeful. It gives me, I'm still keeping an open mind, even though, I'm seeing all the signs in relations to the advisors flowing in and the private companies being hired and all those things. My hope is that I'm just seeing a human face of the new political government, and that is very, very pleasant to see. So, my dear friends, I've been on air for about 50 minutes, and I'm going to have to go. You can keep on commenting for a while. I will be reading this, but I'm getting some comments on what Varoufakis is wearing. Stratos is saying that whatever he wears, he always looks like a pimp. I don't know. I think he looks cool, but I mean, that's completely irrelevant. We should be focusing on what he's saying, and mostly on what he's doing in regards to the Greek debt. My hopes for the Greek debt being declared illegal, I think, are just slowly vanishing, because they obviously have recognized the debt. They are just they've recognized it and they're just trying to negotiate it. And yes, maybe their tactic is going the way I said before, like that would be kind of the most positive thing, that they're going to get an offer from the EU that they simply will not be able to accept, and that is the best case scenario. But unfortunately, there was such a different way to go about this, as the debt is not legitimate. It's the product of probably fraudulent actions, which I want to analyze. I already did this analysis in Greek last week, and thank you for sharing that video, because a lot of people, a couple thousand people, have watched the video and still counting. And I'm hoping more people will watch this video in Greek, but I'm going to do an English version of that video, where I'm going to be stating why the Greek debt should be declared illegal. It is illegal based on international treaties and international law. And if the government could go about it that way, Greece would be a winner, and we would be able to be a country again, be a sovereign again, and be the master of our own home. Who knows what will happen? Anyway, we'll keep watching. Thank you everyone for joining today. I was not even expecting that you would join, because I know that Venizelos is on Greek TV right now, and that's probably very exciting. That's one politician that's out there walking free, and we all know that there are serious reasons to suspect that he shouldn't be walking free. Anyway, take care everyone, have a good night. I'm looking forward to reading more comments, and thank you all for your private messages, whether it's on Facebook or on Twitter. I'm reading them all. I am archiving the links in order to come back with specific programs, but I always try to prioritize on what's most important on the day I'm broadcasting. And today I think it was good to sort of lay out the parameters of what's going on right now with the Greek debt. Take good care, spread the word. Don't forget to go to Underground Network on YouTube, youtube.com/underground network, youtube.com/underground network, and subscribe. That would be very, very helpful to know, and to sort of start counting who is interested in this sort of project. And also go to underground.net and watch a 2-minute video to understand what is the bigger picture of what we're doing here, and also enter your information so that you could be notified of the launch of what we're doing. But keep your friends informed, spread the word, keep coming, and keep on interacting. And thank you for joining. And I'm mumbling, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, same time. I won't be late. We won't do any more tests. I will be here tomorrow, 11 p.m. Greek time. Take care, everyone, and see you soon. I'm still reading your messages, by the way. Prokopis is saying, you're really good at this. Am I really good at this? I am still mumbling, but anyway. Oh, who said, what's not exciting? And enjoying, hold on, we don't want him to act like a politician. We are enjoying it and make the most out of it. No, it's not exciting. Did I say it's exciting? And Dimitri is saying, no, it's not exciting. Maybe. Anyway, it's a figure of speech. I'm excited when I'm hoping for something better. If Dimitris was making a comment on what I said, that was what I was trying to say. Anyway, I gotta stop streaming. Take care. Streaming, not screaming. Take care, everyone. Talk to you soon. Thank you for being here every night, most of you. Bye-bye.